So, generally speaking, quite often we have certain sort of patterns of sin. Sometimes we sin in a certain way and then the Lord forgives us, but then we tend to quite often do the same thing again and again. And this is what happened with Abraham. So after God had come to Abraham, remember when they were sitting with those, he was sitting in the tent, those three men came and they said that Sarah would have a baby within a year. But during that time, I'm not sure why, the Bible doesn't tell us, but Abraham moves. Probably there was maybe a famine again. Abraham moves to this place called Gerar, or Gerar, I'm not sure. It's a sort of in the area of the Philistines. And the king of that place is called Abimelech. And the commander of his army, he's the sort of the king of that city. And in that, he's the king of that city, and they do the same thing they did when they went to Egypt. Abram asked Sarah, could you please tell them that you are my sister? So Abram tells the men that Sarah is his sister, and Sarah tells the men he is my brother. And Abimelech takes Sarah into his household. But God comes to him, and they're there for a while, because we read later on that nobody had any children during that time. And of course, it was a big household, or maybe it was in the whole city. God comes to Abimelech in a dream, and he says to him, behold, you are a dead man, because you have someone else's wife. And Abimelech said, Lord, I didn't touch her. I didn't even come near her. And I didn't even know she was somebody's wife. I've done this in the integrity of my heart. He said to me, she said to me, she is my sister. And she said, he is my brother. I have done this in the integrity of my heart. And the Lord said, I know you have done this in the integrity of your heart. It was I that kept you from touching her, and that you have not done this wicked thing. But if you do not give her back to my servant, you will be a dead man, you and everyone who belongs to you. And I will ask my servant, Abraham, who is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will be healed. So very early the next morning, Abimelech gets up, and he tells all the men who are with him and tells them, listen, if we don't give this Sarah back to her brother, to her husband, we're all going to die. And the Bible tells us they were very afraid. So then Abimelech calls Abraham, and he says, what have you done to us? Why did you not, hands on our desk, why did you not tell me that she was your wife? He said, you've done a very wicked thing to us. This is very wrong. What were you thinking? And Abram said, well, because I thought the fear of God is not in this place. And if they think she's my wife, they'll kill me. So I said to Sarah, wherever we go, let this be your kindness to me, that you tell people that you are my sister. And it is true. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. In those days, that sort of thing was allowed to. Later on, Moses was very strict, and that was absolutely not allowed. But now, at that point, it still was. And so Abimelech said, he said, you should not have done it. What he did is he gave Abraham oxen, and he gave him sheep, and he also gave him even 1,100 pieces of shekels of silver, and he gave Sarah back, and he said to Sarah, here I have given all these things to your brother, that your innocence may be shown. And then and then he also said to Abram, you can dwell wherever you want to. And then I'm just going to tell you a little piece of another story that comes after tomorrow's story. This is after Isaac is born. So tomorrow's story is about Isaac being born. About 5 years after Isaac was born or so. Now they're still talking, and Abimelech and Phicol, he comes to Abram, and he says, we know that God is for you, so let's make a covenant. And so the Bible tells us that they made a covenant. And the word that they use is the same word as cut. They cut a covenant. Remember how they did that? They cut those animals. So the Bible said they did it with a sheep and oxen. And then Abram also says to Abimelech, listen, you guys, we dug a well here, and your servants have taken it. And Abimelech said, I knew nothing about it. So then Abram sets 7 little ewe lambs by themselves, And he says to Abimelech says, "What are these doing here?" He says, "That's my proof that this particular well, we built it." And Abimelech says, "Yes," and he goes his way. And so they say that they cut a covenant. And then this is what that well is called, Beersheba. It's a very southern part of Israel. And the Bible tells us that Abram planted a tree and he called upon the name of the Lord Most High. Remember, we talked about Most High in our Bible stories.